Hey guys, so I am getting ready to do some planning and prepping for my homeschool week. So I thought it might be helpful to take you along with me just to see my process. It's going to be really simple. If you caught my plans and goals video last week, I shared that right now I'm really focusing on reestablishing rhythms. So I'm trying to keep things pretty simple as we continue to do that. We made really good progress last week with reestablishing rhythms. I feel really good about where we landed last week. Yesterday on my Instagram, I actually shared a week in a life through pictures and really kind of broke down and explained what we accomplished last week. So if you like those kinds of posts, I will link that down in the description box below. But I'm also going to share some of it with you here as I reflect on last week, take a look at what we did, and then use that to help me inform my priorities for the upcoming week. I am a fairly loose planner, so I'm not like a serious planner. I also do a combination of like planning ahead and backwards planning, so I'll share that with you and explain a little bit about that. I don't really have a ton to prep, so I was going to call it like a plan and prep with me video, but there really isn't a ton to prep. I've been trying to keep things low prep for me for right now. I do have a few things that I'm probably going to print from the 1,000 Hours Outside mega bundle to just have as like some inspiration on the table for my kids if they get bored or they just want to explore some rabbit trails. But really, other than that, we're keeping it super simple. So I thought it would be a helpful week to share. Some of you gave me some feedback about videos that you miss seeing from me or videos that would be helpful, and some of my planning videos and kind of how I bring together resources for multiple ages was something that came up quite a few different times. And while I'm not doing anything super complex or mind-blowing here, I just thought it might still be helpful to see my process. So come along with me as I sit and relax. It's Sunday afternoon. We went to church. We had lunch. My husband takes the kids out usually for at least a few hours on Sundays so that I can get some time to rest. He's like, I want you to have a Sabbath, maybe take a nap. But honestly, like, I do find this restful and relaxing, and it helps my brain to rest, to kind of like get a focus for the week ahead, do some praying. I'm sure I'll do some reading. I'll do some hand knitting, some crocheting, and really do some things that I enjoy. Like, as well as this, I ordered some groceries, so I have groceries coming on the way. That is also something that I do to plan and prep for the week, is just get some groceries for the next couple of days. I order my groceries, so I don't worry about doing huge grocery shops, but I do want to go into Monday, like not waking up and realizing that I need like half and half for my coffee, or I'm out of oatmeal and the kids want oatmeal. So planning that on Sunday really does help my day flow a little bit more smoothly. So I will have groceries on the way while I'm doing this. I'll throw on a load or two of laundry throughout this time. And I actually do find those things restful and helpful for me as I prepare for the week ahead. So come along with me as I do some reflecting and planning. Okay, so in looking at last week, you'll see that I did not write a ton down here. This is kind of like things that we have going on other than homeschooling. So like for content creation, if I have something to post, it will go here so that I can remember. If we have something going on in our life, like skiing and snowboarding, that will go here. This was intentionally a slow week, which obviously sometimes that's out of our control, but oftentimes it's very much in our control. And then this page, I did not write down prayer and gratitude, although I did pray a ton and was very intentional. I didn't write it down here. I'll show you other weeks where I did. I did put a couple of house things down that I wanted to do. This brain dump area is super helpful. I put down that I wanted to reset the playroom and clean the mudroom. I did neither of those things, okay, in full transparency. I also wrote down I wanted to have my daughter, my 10-year-old, cook dinner with me. She's super helpful. Like, she likes to create snacks. Like, she likes to make guacamole, and she'll make grilled cheese and like all those kinds of things for her and her younger siblings. But I wanted to get her actually cooking some dinners. We also did not do this. So this is going to get transferred to next week. So when I come in and I write things down here, I will plug that in again, because really all these things. And then have her do laundry with me. This is something we have worked on from time to time, but I want her to become more consistent. So I want to be intentional about having her do that with me this week. Her and her younger two siblings do have the job of sorting and delivering all of the clean laundry. We do not fold. If you've been around, I just have them sort for each person and deliver the laundry to each person's room. And that's been really a great system for us so far. Then I will have one of these be a to-do list for me in general. One of these will be a film and edit section for me for content creation. And then these are posts that I need to create throughout the week, whether they're on Instagram, YouTube, whatever it may be, stories. Some of them will be like half do's, like I have a brand collaboration or something. And then some of them are just like ideas that I have. So going through them really quickly, we did not get my oldest son snowboard rentals. I did have a couple of mountains that I wanted to contact about collaborating with them. I did not do that either. I did want to contact this brand, Thrive Market, did not do that either. And I did want to hop over on the Made to Homeschool app to like connect and post over there because I have not done that in quite a while. I did not do that either. So this is just a fully real, transparent video. You will see as we go on, it's because I really did focus my time and attention and energy elsewhere throughout the week. And so I'm okay with that. I did film this anxiety devotional. I did not edit it because I have some time to work on that. I did film and edit and post my YouTube goals last week, so you saw that. And then I was thinking about doing a YouTube video on the playroom reset that I'm going to do, but let me know if you guys are even interested in that. Clearly that didn't happen. And then I had some things that I posted. This I thought was supposed to be this week, and then I looked it up and realized I had more time. So that's why that didn't get posted or edited. And then these are some ideas of things that I wanted to share. I did share 5 ways that I'm cultivating a more peaceful home. So if you're interested in that, you can go check that over on Instagram. And coming up soon, I'm going to have 5 ways that I'm working on being more patient, and then 5 things I'm doing to stay off my phone. So those things will just get transferred over that did not get done. I wanted to do a week in the life post. So I don't know why I threw it over here, but you know, I do my best. I did do a day in the life ski post, so I can check that off. I was like, do I want to do that? So that's why it is a question mark. My 5 ways posts in general, I just put it in a note down here. And then I did actually end up getting this done, which I mentioned, the week in the life post. Okay. And then this is the spread where I write down homeschool specific things. And we're going to go over how I do this next. So I mentioned in the beginning of the video that I do a sort of combination of planning ahead and backwards planning. And so that's what I'm going to show you here on this page, how exactly I do that. I'll give you a closer look, but right along this notes side, this is where I write down all the things in my brain for the upcoming week that I want to get to. So this is kind of just like a to-do list essentially for academics and maybe books that I want us to read, you know, art projects, craft ideas, anything like that will go here. And then sometimes I will plug them in, but I don't go further than like a day ahead for that. So I'll show you how I do that. This is more where I'm backwards planning and marking what we do as we go. So let me show you and walk you through how I did that for last week, and then we'll do it for next week. And I also want to give you just a quick peek at some other weeks and kind of like the variations in maybe how much I planned or versus how much we got done, or how much I actually like utilized my planner, because some weeks I utilize it way more, some way less, and I'm okay with all of those variations. As you can see along this side, I did not have a ton of things that I wanted to get to last week. I really just had some basic things. I wanted us to do our history, which is a group subject for us. It's the Good and the Beautiful's new history. I only wanted us to get to this once, so I checked it off because we did actually get to this on Wednesday. So I'll also share with you how I utilize these different categories. I also wanted us to get back into watching World Watch News. We haven't been watching it lately. We got out of the habit of it. We only did it once again, but I checked it off because we did get back to doing it. Next week, my goal will probably be for us to do it at least twice. I wanted to do at least one Vikings lesson with my 14-year-old. That is a history that I do one-on-one with him through Gather Round Homeschool. And we did get to that on Monday. I think that was the only day that we did it. Yes. And I'll talk to you about what we did the other days when we gathered together, him and I, one-on-one. The Dragon and the Raven is a book that I am reading with him to go along with the Vikings unit. And we did do this 2 or 3 times throughout the week. It looks like we did it here and we did it here. And then I feel like we did it 3 times, but I didn't write that down. So I'm not going to worry about it, but I did check it off because I just wanted us to get started on it, and we did. And then piano for my youngest 3, I wanted them to just get back to doing that because we got out of the habit of that for a couple of weeks with illness and the holidays and everything else. So all 3 of my youngest kids actually did do this twice each. I'm not sure if I wrote that down at a quick glance. I'm peeking and don't know that I wrote that down, but we'll go over that. This was all I had on the list. Now, just taking a quick peek back to, like, let's say, oh, that's cute. This week, I wrote nothing down. That was Christmas week, so I think we can understand why. Okay, so going back to this week where I wrote like hardly anything down that we did, I did have like this long list of things that we wanted to get to, which is kind of funny, like different crafts and things. World Watch and piano were there, Italian and Spanish. We have not jumped back into those. So that's not the greatest example, but like, as you can see, during December, I did not do a ton of documenting what we were doing. But you can see kind of this habit of writing down the things that I wanted to get to and then checking them off. So let's look into November a little bit. Same thing, a nice long list, not a lot of documenting what we got done. Here it looks like I did it in the beginning of the week, and then I use this as like just paper for myself to write down some things. This particular week, I had nothing written down here. Very busy in terms of content for me. Like you can see, I didn't even write down goals for November. So just keeping it real and honest. So because they were like busy content months for me, I feel like I didn't do as good of a job like documenting what we were doing for homeschool. And you can see the variation. Like I really don't fill everything in. I try to, just for my own personal records and just to look back on, but I don't stress it. But here was where these are the things I wanted to get through academics wise. And then this was like a to-do list of things that I needed to get to for myself. So not a perfect system. This is probably the most full example. And this was like middle of October. But that same idea where I'm writing down a list of things I want to get to and then backwards planning. Okay, so let's go back to this past week so I can talk you through how things went. For Monday, I did not have high expectations. This was our first day back doing formal academics in weeks. Like I said, between illness and the holidays, I really just wanted to jump back into doing basic core academics for each of my kids that are still homeschooling, which are my 5, 7, 10, and 14-year-olds. So as you can see, so this is an area I don't always do a great job filling in what my teenager does. I said in my homeschool plans and goals video last week that is something I want to be more consistent in. So like checking in with him more. He's very independent and a self-starter, so I don't worry so much, but I do want to do a better job checking in and documenting for him. I knew that he was doing an assessment on Monday and Tuesday in his math curriculum, so I wrote those down. Wednesday he did math again, and he also did some independent work on his Vikings. I know he did more than this, but that's what I wrote down. Okay, so back to just Monday though. So I did get to language arts with my 10-year-old, and she did her independent reading. I did a math lesson, a language arts lesson with him, and I did his reading with him. And then same for my 5-year-old. And then for group, I really just wanted to get us back in the habit of gathering. So I really just did a short Bible study with them, and that actually went really well. And then as you can see, my categories, like all 4 of my children who are still homeschooling, group all, so that's all of them. And then group littles is just my 5, 7, and 10-year-olds because I have stuff that I do with just those 3. And then with Jackson, I write that down because these are my one-on-ones with him. I don't have a separate category for like what I do with them and what I do separate for my 5, 7, and 10 because so much of their academics is still like led and directed by me. So that's how I do it. So I did a Vikings lesson with him on Monday because that was one of my priorities. I wanted to, for Monday, my main priority was just to get a one-on-one with each of my kids, get a group subject with all of my kids, and then have them each do something somewhat independent. And I really feel like we did that on Monday. Moving to Tuesday, like I said, Jackson finished his assessment that he had started. Gia did some handwriting independently, and I think we did language arts here, but I didn't write that down, so I probably need to write that down. For my 7-year-old, for whatever reason, we did not get to math or language arts this day, but we did do his reading, and we spent a decent amount of time on that, and I saw some great progress, so I felt really good about that still. For my 5-year-old, we did do a math lesson, a language arts lesson, and worked on her reading. For our group, for all of us, we did Bible again because I wanted to stay consistent with that. And then we also just added in an episode of World Watch. I didn't do anything with just my littles for group. I forgot to mention that on Monday, I did a character study with them, the More Than Words Bible curriculum by Rebecca Spooner. I did that with them. Nothing on this day. And then with my 14-year-old, instead of doing another Vikings lesson, I took some time to read a little bit of Taking Europe for Jesus with him. This is kind of like a church history that we got that we're working through that we started months ago. And then I don't know if this is the first time we did Dragon and the Raven. It's either the first or the second time. We might have done some here too. I think we did. But either way, we did readings this day instead of a new lesson from Vikings. Moving on to Wednesday, like I mentioned, my son did math again. Sometimes he'll do like a really math heavy week and barely any language arts. Then I have to tell him next week, like, I need you to focus on language arts. And that's kind of what happened this week. But if he gets into a good flow, I like for him to be able to decide that. He did do some of his Vikings, like independent work. Then for my 10-year-old, we got to math and language arts again on Wednesday. My 7-year-old, again, we did not do independent work with him. With my 5-year-old, we did math and language arts and reading again. For our group subject, we did history. That's our The Good and the Beautiful history. Nothing as a group with littles, except for probably like crafty things that they were doing together. And then it looks like I didn't do any one-on-ones with my 14-year-old this day. I like honestly don't remember, but I don't think we did. Thursday was our first day back skiing and snowboarding. We do a homeschool program. So every Thursday for the next 6 weeks, we will be doing that. And there was so much learning that takes place for this that I could do a whole video on how I had them help me prep and all of that. You can check out my post for my week in the life and my day in the life of skiing and snowboarding, and you'll kind of get a feel for the real life things that they're learning through the preparation for that and actually doing it. And hey, that's physical education for the entire week as far as I'm concerned. Lastly, we have Friday. This is an interesting day because most Fridays, my 7-year-old goes to work with my husband. My husband is in full-time ministry, and that is a day that my son is able to go and work with him, and it's a really special thing. But you'll also see, once again, he did not get any formal academics, but what he learns being with my husband, I feel like is far greater anyway. With my 10-year-old, we did get to just her math, and that was an assessment that she had. And then for my 5-year-old, she also had a math assessment. It just worked out that way. Everyone had an assessment this week. I wish I could say that I planned it that way, but I didn't. And then we also did some reading. Group, all we didn't do because, like I said, my 7-year-old was not here. I didn't do a littles group thing either because, again, he was not here. But my girls did do some like nature viewer, like fun activities. It was a freebie from the 1,000 Hours Outside Mega Bundle, actually, and they had really a lot of fun doing that. And then lastly, I did have some solid time with my 14-year-old doing the same thing we did on Tuesday, where we read some of Taking Europe for Jesus and The Dragon and the Raven. And I read a little bit more of both of these than we did on Tuesday. And then next week, my goal will be to do Vikings at least twice. And then another one of my main goals will be to prioritize independent or one-on-one subjects with my 7-year-old. So I don't stress this at all. I just use this to inform my plans for the week ahead. So next week, like, he's going to be the top priority in terms of doing one-on-ones because it didn't happen so much for him this week. So I don't get upset about it. I just use it to think through and prepare what I'm going to do differently the next week. As you can see, though, based on the goals that I set for myself, we did at least hit those things, and I feel like we are reestablishing some pretty solid rhythms, and that was my main goal. Now let's plan for next week. So the first thing I'm doing is just adding things that I didn't get to last week that I still do want to try to prioritize this week. And not everything makes the list again. So maybe I decide that it isn't necessary, or it isn't necessary to prioritize at this time, or I just change my mind, or whatever it may be. So I'm not transferring everything over that I had down, but just kind of the most important things that I want to focus on, and then things that just really need to get done. Okay, something that I did not mention is this meal planning section. I love that it's here, but this is one of my weaknesses, is planning out meals for the week. At most, I'll do like 1 to 2 days in advance. I don't even know what I'm cooking for dinner tonight. Actually, I'm lying. I do know what I'm cooking for dinner tonight. I'm making chicken parm and pasta and salad. So I guess I could write that down. Sometimes I literally will just write things down to make myself feel like motivated to keep going. So let's do that. I have no idea for those days, so I'm not even going to worry about the other days right now. I'm going to do this in a minute because I do want to take some time to do that, but this is kind of private to me. So I'm going to do that after we go over this. We're here today already, so I'm not worrying so much about that. For Monday, I always post for the Tuttle Twins on Mondays. I have a partnership with them, so I'm going to write that down. And I don't have a lot of things that I have to post. So usually I'll only plug them in if I have to post on that particular day or if I plan to post on that particular day for whatever reason. So I guess I could write just like skiing and snowboarding just to keep that fresh in my mind with planning and things like that. So then on the next page, I set my categories, which are the same every week. So Jackson, Gia, Seppi, Jules, group all, group littles, and then with Jackson. So there's not a ton that I'm going to be writing here at all. This is mostly going to be backwards planning, but I will plug in a few things for tomorrow just to get me started. And I am going to create my list of things that I want to get to for the week, just so that when my mind gets busy or there's a lot of stuff going on, as there always is when you have a lot of kids and you're homeschooling, I won't need to try to remember what I wanted to prioritize. I can just consult my list. So I definitely want to get to group history again at least once. I don't do it more than twice a week anyway, so I'm just going to put it on there once. I do want to do World Watch again. I'd like to do it at least twice. I'm going to make 2 boxes for myself to remember that. I do want to do a Vikings lesson with Jackson at least twice, and I know that I want to do it on Monday for the first time because I don't think we have done it since last Monday, so I'm going to prioritize that with him on Monday. I also want him to prioritize language arts because that didn't happen much last week, so I'll write that down. And then also the Tuttle Twins Teen Academy is something I don't think he got to at all last week, so I want him to prioritize that. And then reading, because I don't know how much, if any, independent reading he did. He has 2 books that he's reading right now, and I want him to get to that. So for Monday, I am really going to talk to him about prioritizing those things. And then for these guys, I'm not going to worry so much about writing anything down ahead of time, but I know I want to prioritize my 7-year-old, so I might just write down math and language arts just as a reminder to me visually of like prioritizing him first for this. And then for our group, I think we're just going to write down Bible for now because that's going to be the priority. Not like, I don't think I'll push for history on Monday because it really, to me, is just reestablishing these rhythms of getting together as a group. And I'll probably do character again with them to start the week off strong. And then that's probably all I'm going to write in for now until we go out throughout the week. But there are a couple things that I'm going to add into here. Like piano is something that I want them all to get to at least twice a week. My 14-year-old plays the drums, and he does that without anyone ever needing to tell him that. I don't think I'm going to write down the Dragon and the Raven because I know that I'm going to get to that with my 14-year-old. I wrote it down there because that was something new that we were doing. But I do want to add back in a language. So I'm going to put in Spanish or Italian, and I'll probably just let my kids pick. I'm not going to be adding a ton here because, again, I'm still just trying to reestablish rhythms. I'm not trying to dump a whole bunch of things on here. I'm just trying to be consistent and then add things slowly. Like you'll notice, really, this is the only thing I'm adding in is a language this week in comparison to what we were doing last week. So really, that is my planning for the week ahead. And then maybe I'll write down this because I am going to print out something from the 1,000 Hours Outside bundle. This ends today, by the way. So if you're interested in getting the freebies or getting the bundle, today really is the last day. So I'm sorry if you're seeing this after Monday, January 12th. I am very sorry, but that is something that we're doing this week. So I'm just trying to give you the real plan. I'm going to go ahead and work on my prayer and gratitude, and then we will wrap it up. So as I was writing and praying, I did think of one thing that I wanted to add to my list here, and that is Treasures in the Snow. If you saw my video last week, that is our next read aloud, or is it Treasure in the Snow? Whatever it is. I want to start that this week. We have a couple of chapters left of the last book in the Little House series, which is, we've been reading this series for years. And so Treasure in the Snow is the book that I have up next, and it's a goal of mine to start it this week, so I did add that to the list. And this will happen, so that's why I don't stress it. I'll think of things throughout the day today. I'll think of things throughout the week maybe that I want to add. And yeah, I like things to just develop naturally. That's why most days I don't have a specific subject written down for each child unless I'm assessing from the week before where one of those children didn't get as much work done as the others, or they did not get to a particular subject and I want them to prioritize it. But I like to ask them, like, hey, do you want to start with math or language arts? That's what works for us. I like them to have some choice. And yeah, so I will just kind of go with the flow and do what feels natural and best, and just continue to pray and ask the Lord to guide our homeschool and every area of our life, which is something that I wrote down in my prayer for the week. Okay, you guys, I hope you found it helpful to come along with me as I reflected on last week and planned a little bit for the week ahead. Let me know if you have a similar process to how you plan. If there was something about this video that you found helpful that you would like to see more of, or if you have any follow-up questions for me that you would like me to answer in an upcoming video. I am really gonna try getting back to getting one video a week up for you. If you've been around, that was always kind of my standard, was have a minimum of one video up on my channel a week, and I got away with that. I got away from that during really busy seasons and just really needing to prioritize my time in a healthy, balanced way for my family. And so I do feel like I'm in a space where I can handle one video a week. Just as I mentioned previously, I want them to be intentional and purposeful and helpful, and not just putting up a video to put them up. So continue to keep the requests for videos coming, because I really do want this to be a place where you find encouragement and like practical tips and all of that, and for it to not just be a place where I'm adding to the noise. If you're not already following me over on Instagram, you can follow me over there, rooted_homelife. I am more active over there than I am here on YouTube. But I also hope to see you soon in one of my next videos here on YouTube. And until next time, stay rooted.